Hi, this is Trevor, and another little tarot vlog about some things that I find useful in working with the cards and in my own intuitive work. And one of the things that I can recall having suggested to me when I first began working with tarot was the importance of keeping a tarot journal. It can be something pretty simple. Find that in a stationery store. Or some people like something a little more ornate. I've had some beautiful journals, some that have been given to me, maybe with some lovely artwork. Something that just really says this is a special place of recording my thoughts and my feelings and experiences on the journey. This is important in tarot study, partly because you want to keep track of your readings. You want to maybe go back to them and see how some things have played out. But I think another important element is that we often see that just working with these symbols is a transformational process. I know when I first began working with tarot, my life went through a lot of strong changes. Some of it is just the business of seeing patterns that I had been unconsciously affected by. And when we start making those associations, things start falling into place. It isn't luck, it's awareness. And it can be fascinating to go back and see how our interactions around a card at one time have maybe grown, broadened, and deepened. Journaling is a very, very important kind of self-communication. For me, it's a way of kind of keeping things in check. And oftentimes, the things I journal about personally become sometimes the tools that I can bring to my reading and my sharing with other people. And tarot being kind of a common language, we have the benefit of working with other teachers and authors, illustrators, and people who have also been on that path. Here's an interesting suggestion, though. Again and again, and I've mentioned this before, people will often say, oh, tarot's so complicated. I don't know how I could memorize all those meanings. Well, you speak a language and you haven't memorized a dictionary. It is important to look at some of the technical associations people have developed with the cards over time, and sometimes authors will differ on their opinions about those things. But tarot, like a language, has a structure. And just like you want to learn a language from somebody who has good grammar, good pronunciation, it's good to be working with a deck that I feel is kind of fluent, one that will kind of work well with a lot of the other associations people have made. And that's why again and again, I come back to the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, illustrated by the very gifted Pamela Colman-Smith. It isn't necessarily the most artistically pleasing deck, but I think that Pamela's great gift was as an illustrator. Somebody who knew how to bring an imagery to a story that was very evocative. And I continue to see things after 30 years in the Rider deck that maybe I didn't pick up on at an earlier point. So when you're journaling with tarot, you're partly writing down your interpretations of things, and a lot of people think that it's about how you're going to be predicting the future. I mean, that's initially why a lot of people pick this up. But I think when you start working with it as a symbolic language, as a way of articulating what you're moving through, you get to do something a little different if you're willing. Say you're journaling about your week, and maybe there was a staff meeting at work that was very frustrating, and maybe there's a guy who's always really opinionated. Maybe you're that guy. I know I can be. So look through the deck, almost as if you were going to go on the internet and choose images off Google to illustrate a story. You've got 78 images here. You can combine them any way you like. So let's look around. And for me, the staff meeting where things are going around in circles and it's getting a little frustrating, I would pick the Five of Wands. And that guy who's really opinionated, that guy who always has to speak up, maybe I would pick the Knight of Swords. Right? In looking at my feelings, maybe there's a sense of defensiveness. Right? So that's the Nine of Wands. You get to actually pick your illustrations for your story. Remember, you're not predicting here. You're just looking at things that would best express. And here's a point where I would say, put the books aside. Put the other authors' interpretations to the side while you're doing this. You just go with what feels right for you. Again, I always say this, the tarot police will not come knocking on your door. There's a point where you might later on want to go back after you've illustrated your story and see what some of those other authors maybe have to say. You might get a little bit of insight about yourself and about that situation. The more we work with that, the more we actually are building our repertoire of associations. Oftentimes during a reading, we might want to illustrate something we're picking up. sort of relating our own experience, saying, it seems like you're going through some friction at work, and maybe there's been a staff meeting that's been really frustrating. The more you get familiar with the symbol, the more you get familiar with the energetic experience. So I encourage journaling, both in terms of interpreting the cards, but also using the cards as your own illustrative vehicle. Maybe you might want to play around with the idea of a design of your own. You could draw stick figures that kind of best express that Five of Wands feeling. The more we work with this creatively, and the more we give ourselves permission to use these tools, the more we start making associations that are strong. Over time, we might see that those associations were a little bit weak. Maybe we're using that language in a way that doesn't get used generally. We might want to be articulating something in our own way. But we also start to see, again, the associations that are strong, and the more we build with those, the more we kind of, in a fascinating way, figure out some things on our own that others have figured out as well. It's neat being able to relate to that. You can have a tarot journey that is just every bit as profound as some of the great masters, like Arthur Edward Waite, who commissioned the deck, or his sort of nemesis, Aleister Crowley. Fascinating people, each with their own perspectives, and boy, did they have differing opinions. I look forward to sharing more with you, and keep up the good work, whatever you're doing with tarot. And I enjoy hearing from you and relating our experiences. Take care, and have a great week ahead. Maybe you might want to journal about it.